All right. Good morning, everyone. Today we'll talk about the North Dakota side of higher education, and in September we'll talk about the Minnesota side. So please come back and join us for the September edition of this as well. Now we're going to turn it over to our two presidents here. So President Cook from NDSU and President Flanagan from NDSCS. I'm going to ask each of them to give some opening comments on a little bit of a state of their institution, and then we'll dive into some specific questions as well. So, President Cook, will you start us off?
So the state of affairs at NDSU, the short version is, things are going very well. The legislative session was really very positive for all of higher ed and certainly for us, so we're very grateful. And I think pretty much everybody in higher ed in this state is feeling very appreciative of all the support, so that's very good. Enrollment, as Jeff Folk just touched on, is a real challenge in the state, in the upper Midwest and nationally, and that's been a big part of the narrative this last year. It's been very hard, but very engaged, and we rolled out a plan this spring and rolled out areas where we need to make some tough reductions, but also where we want to make some key investments. And tough, hard year, exciting year, and excited about where we're going. And so, in wrapping up the first year, pretty excited about coming into the summer and next fall. But a lot of hard work to do, but I think we got a lot of people moving in the right direction, so feel very good about that.
It's been an incredible learning opportunity to go through this first legislative process. We've been very blessed. We've got some incredible legislators like Judy Lee and others who have helped us, and we'll probably talk about this, but changing the funding formula, and that is so impactful for us. We're a small institution. I'll share some numbers later, but we have tremendous opportunity with the new CIC that is coming on board soon. I believe that NDSCS is well positioned for the future.
Let's start with enrollment. Both of you mentioned challenges around enrollment. Can each of you expound a little bit on the challenges that you're facing, and then maybe what you see as some innovative solutions or ideas to address those?
So enrollment is top of mind almost daily. In 2012, we had 3,060 students. In the fall of 2022, we had 2,942 students. Total credits, so remember, we are paid based on producing credits. So in that same time frame, our credits have gone from 35,000 in 2012 to, in 2022, 30,900. That's a big deal to us and how we are paid through appropriations. The shift for us, honestly, is in dual credit students. So I can share this with you. In 2019, we had 800 dual credit students. 2019, 800. In 2023, we had 1,251. That's an increase of 450 dual credit students. It is a big deal to us. There is some question about how dual credit is funded, and so there's a study. The legislature has asked for a study on how dual credit is funded. So that will have if it changes, it could have an impact on NDSCS.
In the state of North Dakota in 2013, they changed the funding formula or the funding model for colleges across the state. So this funding formula was introduced. It was a great leap forward. We loved it as an institution, and I'm still not being critical of it, but that's when budgeting changed, and it was really based on what you just heard President Flanagan talk about, is student credit hour production at that point. And this weird kind of narrative about headcount versus student credit hour production really is an important one for everybody to understand. The problem since 2013 at NDSU is our enrollment started dropping at that point, and for us, it started slowly declining, and then in the last 5 or 6 years has really taken a more steep decline. And so that creates a lot of revenue challenges for us. Day one, I talked to my cabinet about it, talked to the deans. We have to put together a plan to start, changing and transforming, and that's where we kind of eventually got to this pretty significant transformation plan, which involved cutting academic colleges from 7 to 5, so we have 2 fewer academic deans now. We've merged and reorganized some. what also is very hard, cutting some faculty, cutting some academic programs. The flip side of it is we've done a lot of investing in, trying to turn the corner. For us, it's new academic programs based on workforce need. It's really focusing on retention, keeping the students that come in August to come back in August. And then for us also, a lot about helping first-generation student of color, Pell-eligible students, which I think there's a tremendous opportunity to do more in that space right in our backyard. So very high level, that's a lot of the work that we're doing. The enrollment cliff is coming nationally, so we got to kind of get our house in order when that does hit us, that we're ready. And that's kind of us being in the middle of this, but I also think a plan moving forward that over the next year or two, I think will turn the ship around.
Great. So President Flanagan, you mentioned the CIC, the Cass County Career Innovation Center, the Career Academy. Can you give a little update on the project? We also know that the amount that was allocated for inflationary is not to the level that we probably need. So can you also address that gap and plans for that?
So where we're at today, we continue to build, albeit at a slower pace. We had some challenge. The 4 public school districts committed $10 million. It was COVID capital project money. We were struggling trying to move through the process. The legislature, to their credit, right away moved through that quickly. The governor, I think it was in fact the first bill that the governor signed. They will get a loan from the Bank of North Dakota. That money will come to us. So that initial $10 million will come. We're confident of that. So that will be a huge relief. The other piece that you mentioned that was just passed on late Saturday night was the $26.5 million. That is money that is to cover some of the inflationary costs. So the plan is still to begin instruction in the building August of '24. So if we can get in there before that, we will, but that's still kind of the timeline.
So President Cook, as we switch gears a little bit, can you speak a little bit to the research component of NDSU, what happened in the session around research dollars and what you anticipate in the future?
Yeah, there are a couple different issues in that question. So number one, NDSU is kind of an interesting place where we have our higher education budgets kind of go through the similar process that President Flanagan was talking about through House Bill 1003. And then on the agriculture side, it kind of has a different process, something that was introduced in the early 2000s. There's something called the State Board of, there's the State Board of Higher Education that oversees everything, but then there's an SBARE group that really helps set the legislative priorities on the agriculture side. And so within that bill for us, you have the research extension centers. They really advance research across North Dakota. I mean, you can truly see the kind of advancements that we've made through soil science, on the plant sciences side, making tremendous strides really for the state and the state's economy. Of course, ag is a very big part of the state of North Dakota. Kind of at the last minute, there were some dollars in a different bill. They got moved into our higher ed 1003 bill. NDSU and UND are getting $2.5 million over the biennium, and then the rest of the colleges are going to share $500,000. We're right now kind of trying to figure out how we want to invest those dollars. For us, we have key research areas that we think are both our current expertise and where the state and the upper Midwest needs us to go, where we have strengths and where we want to build on those. That's where we're going to start to redirect those kind of research dollars.
Talk to us a little bit about the funding gap as a whole.
You know, really one of my priorities in the session, which again, the legislature was very good to us, was trying to figure out how can we close that gap. I want to be as close to having that 100% moving forward as possible. Candidly, even though, and I said this over and over again, we earned this. You know, candidly, I went to the legislature a little bit on bended knee saying, I need your help. And the system office was very helpful in this. I think the other colleges were very helpful to President Flanagan and I. We weren't the only ones facing this challenge. Rather than getting 100% of where we would have been, we got what we call hold harmless. Different names get thrown around, but we were funded to the 96% percentile, which is great. It allows us to keep a little bit of that base funding for us so we can kind of move forward and invest, and we don't get beat up so badly that it's almost too hard to bounce back. And we cut probably 3 to 4% of our faculty. That was initially 27, don't ask me how the half, but 27 and a half FTEs of faculty. It included a lot of tenure track and tenured faculty. And it includes shutting down some academic programs that were kind of high cost, low enrollment. All of that stuff is really hard to do. But then also saying, and here's the plan, we got to stand up new academic programs based on workforce need. We're doing that. We got to keep more of our students who are coming in August to come back the following August. There's a lot of things that we're working on there.
So one of the first things that we did, I really started drilling down into the formula to understand. That's where I went to work. I began working with Representative Mark Sanford out of Grand Forks, who was the chair of the interim higher ed committee. He was very good to work with, and he helped us get the CTE credits moved from a 3 to a 5. That was huge for us. So the sum of all of that means that it's $3 million. So we were down $4 million, right? That change alone added $3 million to our budget. That was huge. We began making some cuts a year ago, so that will help us. Dr. Karch and I have been working on some new programs that we're looking at bringing in. The innovation dollars that Representative Cindy Schreiber-Beck proposed didn't pass. We were really counting on that to help us, introduce some new innovative programs. We didn't get that, but we think we can, because the legislature got us back to zero, we think we can do some things. So I think we're good. Everything was very positive for us.
Both of you play a role in economic development. We want to leave you with a message that you as business leaders are really critical to the success of our higher education entities. So if you've not involved and there's a passion area, please join us in helping the students of the future and our existing universities be really successful. A sincere thank you to both President Flanagan and President Cook. You have both been doing an exemplary job, and we look forward to the partnership in the future. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks, Shannon.
Thank you.